That says I'm live. Okay, now I'm definitely live, I think. I think this always starts faster than I think it does. Let me get my Streamlabs back up. There we go. Scratching, not picking. Oh, hi Ash. Space Weevil with a side of carrot. A derived surname meaning from beagle and without the more sophisticated brown ketchup. So we're taking another trip down memory lane, this time with more of a culinary theme. Oh, hi Special Iron. Hi Amy. Okay, let me pop out this chat. I can actually do it this time without you guys having to see the chat multiple times on the screen. Hi, George. Don't you usually show up at the end of my streams, or am I thinking of... I think I'm thinking of somebody else, sorry. Oh, hi, Brandon. Picked a very bad time to watch this when you haven't eaten anything. Tell me about it. I'm on a really strict diet right now. I'm still on the cabbage soup diet, and I gotta watch myself make Oreo truffles. That's gonna suck. Hi, Priscilla. I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Seems like there's plenty of... Yeah, wow, they're pouring in early tonight. Yeah, that was my reaction. I was about to say, I guess I'll get started. It seems like there's plenty of people in here. Sometimes I stall a little bit if it seems like there's only a few, but I think I can just start right up this time. No, I know Trekkie does that too. I was thinking maybe it was also George, but I'm probably on crack. I'm not really on crack. Hi, Jay. You normally wake up this time. That's it. I think that's it. I think you join like partway into it or something. I wasn't totally... haven't totally lost my mind yet. Made the smart decision to eat before this stream. Same here, even if all I ate was cabbage soup with a little bit of beef in it. I get beef and vegetables today, so I added beef to the cabbage soup. It improves the taste a little bit. Okay, let's just... I can't get over how my face looks in the very first frame of this. Like, this is a person whose videos you're gonna watch. Aren't you excited? She looks excited. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, I turned up... Okay, so last time I didn't realize until I went back and watched the stream that the audio was really bad because the sound that you guys were hearing through my mic was at the same volume as what you were hearing directly from the video. So I turned the video up. Well, desktop audio. I turned desktop audio up, so hopefully there won't be so echoey. If it's really echoey, please let me know. Nobody said anything until like halfway through, and it didn't click for some reason, and it sounds terrible now when I watch it, and hopefully I'd like it for it to sound decent when anyone plays it back. Hi, Kel. I mean, watching and making breakfast simultaneously. There you go. Maybe you could make this stovetop frittata. You can follow along. Alright, I'm gonna start now. Let me know if the volume is, too high or not high enough, or if there's a really noticeable echo like last time.
Hey, Dina here. I thought I would try something a little bit different. I've been kicking around the idea of doing cooking videos.
Sorry, gotta reload.
Because I do a lot of cooking and it's never anything fancy, but I'm always trying to find ways to cook meals that don't take very long to make and aren't super expensive to make. So
sorry, I had to move the chat over. It wasn't anytime I click on the video, the chat goes into the background. Hi, Oblivious. Same sort of face my older sister used to have whenever I pointed a camera at her. Oh, you finally got your COVID jab. Good. Oh, I hope, yeah. That's a bummer if you're having a reaction to it. Should be eating green oatmeal again. Let me move this little plushie over so I can see a little better. You're always eating when I'm live.
Yeah, I just thought, I mean, if this catches on, I'll probably continue doing it. If not, whatever, I guess it'll just be a one-time thing. But today I will be making a frittata. If you don't know, a frittata is sort of like an omelet, a little bit like a quiche. It's basically a very basic, simple egg dish. Traditionally, it's cooked on the stove for the first part, and then...
Sorry, I'll try not to pause too much, but looking at this is making me think of how I want to do cooking videos in the future. If I ever... for anyone who doesn't know, I've kicked around the idea of maybe starting a new channel that's like a cooking channel. But yeah, this is the only video where I show my face, and I never did that again for cooking videos. I decided to keep all the ones I did after that as quick and simple as possible. But yeah, if I start doing cooking videos as like my main thing or whatever, I might actually do it more like this. Anyway, except I'll be better at it. Since I'm paused, let me get caught up on the chat really quick. Couldn't finish the recipe because you'd eat all the Oreos. Yeah, that's hard not to do. I always set a few aside to snack on when I'm making it. Oh, no reaction so far. That's good. Yeah, the only thing that happened to me was that my arm got I had a swollen, painful spot on my arm for like 24 hours. I think that was only the second. I think that was the second jab. I think the first one I didn't have any problem. Oh, grain-free. It took me a second to realize what GF meant. Yeah, beef and potatoes is good. I'll certainly be more confident, yeah. Like, I'll have a nice setup and everything. I bought myself an apron because I got so into baking, I just went ahead and bought myself an apron, but like I'll be wearing an apron and I'll look all professional and everything. A Cybercat apron or a Fish for Life apron. Okay.
It's put in the oven, but I don't know if my skillet is oven safe. I don't think it is, but plus, you know, I like to keep, like I said, I'd like to keep things simple, so I'd rather... This one is done completely on the stove, so yeah, let's get started. So here's our ingredients. Eggs, obviously. I'm going to...
One issue I experienced while doing this, of course I had to use my camera as a microphone, so that's partly the issue with the audio. Another one is that I had to have the fan on the stove, you know, the fan over the stove. I had to have that fan running, and that was a lot noisier than I thought, or the camera's microphone picked it up a lot more than I thought it would. Your COVID vaccination made you incredibly drowsy and sleepy. That's not too bad compared to some I've heard.
To make enough, I'm going to make enough to make about 4 or 5 frittatas. I'll decide when I cut it up, but I'm basically going to use I'm going to use 8 eggs, mainly because these other 2 I'm going to need for making breakfast for the rest of the week. This is, I bought a bunch of asparagus last week, and I roasted all of it. And
the problem with the way I film this is that I'm filming over my shoulder, and sometimes my arm gets in the way. Eventually it occurred to me to film, I think I figured this out. When did I figure this out? I think it was all the way, yeah. I think it was when I made the, well, let me think. When did I start doing it? Was it Oreo, truffles, or the cake? But what I eventually started doing was filming at the dining room table, and then I would have the camera be opposite for me, and, you know, I would turn the image upside down if that looked better. But yeah, then I wouldn't have to film over my shoulder. Beef, potato, and broccoli hit dish. That sounds good. Yeah, it took me a second, but I figured I figured you meant gluten-free. You had achy arm for a day, which went up to your neck. Ow.
And then I put about half of it into the frittata I made last week, and I froze the other half, so I'll be using that. I know it's not pretty, but you know, it's a vegetable. What do you expect? This is lunch meat. You don't have to use lunch meat, obviously. You can go for the better stuff. Like, I think I'm sort of loosely basing this off of an Alton Brown recipe, and I think he used like cubed ham that you buy at the store, but this is cheaper and it's not too bad as far as like, I mean, it doesn't have like a mile-long list of ingredients. The main ingredient is the meat, and there's just like salt, and it's cured in a few things. Whatever, it's not that bad, I don't think. You know, use what you want. Obviously, you don't have to use exactly what I'm using. Parmesan cheese, garlic powder and onion powder for flavor.
I love that whenever I lift the ingredients to show them to you, I'm lifting them up to the point where you can't hardly see them. Framing these is a pain. Oh, hot dish. Okay, I thought hit dish was something that some terminology I'd never heard, and I'm just like, pretending like I know what you're talking about. Gonna be at your own kitchen for a bit, just gonna listen for a while. Okay. Hi, Moonbeam. Okay.
Obviously, you are more than welcome to use real onion or real garlic if you would prefer. I like to keep this simple, so I just use that. And
Cyber cook. Honestly, I would probably make it totally separate from my main videos because I would be, you know, trying to get a new audience with it. So I would probably call it like Dina's Bakery or something like that.
Or salt and pepper. Now the first thing to do is to cook the vegetables. I'm going to cut these up a little bit smaller because they turned out to be kind of tough, and at this size, they're still frozen.
Can't see them.
At this size, they were kind of difficult to deal with, so I'm going to attempt to cut them up more while they're frozen. I'm hoping that'll be easier than letting them thaw first. So I'm going to do that really quick, and then I'll come back and show you what the next step is.
I'm using Shatterhand music. Also, you can see me holding well, not now because it's all blurred, but you can see me holding the remote control for the camera. I usually try to hide things like that, but it was a little difficult for this one. People are going to be salivating over their keyboards.
Also, while I'm doing this, I'm going to preheat the stove, so the pan will be hot when I need it. Okay, I have cut up the asparagus and I'm about to cook it. Well, actually, no, it's cooked. Already, I'm about to reheat it because it's frozen. I forgot to mention butter as one of the ingredients. I don't really... sorry, turn that...
You could do a version of Cyber... Oh, you mean... Oh, by Cybercat, you mean my cat mascot. Oh, that'd be cute. Yeah, I could maybe still utilize the cat mascot. Oh yeah, Mexican food. I made a little bit of Mexican food while Lee was out of town. I said this last time, but I didn't specify what I made when Lee was out of town because he doesn't like Mexican food, or rather, it doesn't like him. I just made chili and I put it in. I rolled it up in tortillas. Oh my god. I rolled it up in tortillas and I fried the tortillas. It was really good.
That way I like how it splats. I don't refrigerate my butter. I keep it on the counter. And I know that sounds like a bad idea, but honestly I've been doing it for a while now and I've never had a problem with it, so I figure I could use a little more. Now butter is my preferred oil to cook with. Not margarine, but actual butter.
Screw margarine. Margarine sucks.
Yeah, I'm very unprofessional, okay? I'm not a professional chef, obviously. Wow. Okay, that was,
Someone said in the comments section, now they weren't being mean or anything, it was just some constructive criticism. They said they didn't like how they said that I seem to be lacking confidence in this video, which is fair. I kind of saw it as me just kind of, you know, being just a little bit of, you know, self-deprecation. Like anytime I would mess up and then I would sort of make fun of myself for it. But somebody said I seem to be lacking self-confidence, which, like I said, is fair. I kind of took that into account with later cooking videos. Yeah, I can only handle so much heat myself.
In case I needed to prove I'm not a professional. Wow, that was awesome. Anyway, yeah. So, I am going to let this heat up. Actually, I think in the time I get all the ingredients ready, this should be heated up enough that it will be good. Notice I cut this up a lot smaller. Actually, what I normally do is I just buy some raw broccoli at the store. I cut it up really small, and I'll put it in this pan and just kind of let it cook for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, broccoli, eggs, and cheese is a really good combination. Yeah, it's really easy to make. I used to make one of these on the weekend, and I would cut it up into 5 pieces, and I would just bring one with me to work every day and have it for lunch. Yeah, I do say too much in some of these videos. A little self-deprecation once in a while is good for the soul. I think so. I think it's good to laugh at yourself, but there's a limit. Filmed myself cooking, but never bothered putting them together and uploading in a different channel. Oh, margarine. Yeah, margarine is also bad for you. Yeah. I don't even know exactly what they put in margarine. I know it's some kind of fake oil. Okay.
With the lid on, and it just cooks. And in the meantime, I get the other ingredients ready.
This recipe is so easy. I mean, you kind of have to brown whatever vegetable you're making, but that's really it. Like, after that, you just kind of mix everything together and then throw it on top, and that's it, really.
Which I'm going to do right now. So the next step, and I really could have done this earlier, maybe I should have, is cutting up the lunch meat. And I basically use, since I'm expecting to get 4 servings out of this, I'm using 4 slices of lunch meat, which is not a whole lot. That's the idea. I'm trying to keep this kind of low in calories, which is why I'm not using, it's kind of traditional. Another traditional thing with a frittata is to use a lot of cheese with it. I just use Parmesan cheese. I don't put like shredded cheese on the top or anything like that. And I'm taking this and just cutting it up.
It's not that I don't love cheese. I think I was just trying to keep this dish kind of healthy, so I stuck with Parmesan instead of like, sorry, I've got a gnat in front of me again. So I just stuck with Parmesan instead of like cheddar or anything like that, but you could use any cheese with this, obviously. Zucchini frittata. I don't know how I feel about zucchini, so I don't know, but I'm sure it's good. It's definitely good to laugh at yourself every now and then. Silent Hill fan, but I will admit I stayed to watch the cooking videos. Came for the Silent Hill, stayed for the cooking. There's such a thing as olive oil margarine. That's interesting. I would like to know what's in that. Excuse me. Photobomb gnat.
And I'm not too concerned about getting them all even or anything, because really this is already cooked. It just needs to be kind of heated. Yeah, like one more cut. Some of the pieces are going to be tiny, but whatever. Next step is to beat the eggs and add all of the ingredients. I know you're not supposed to crack the egg on the edge of the thing, but I don't really have a problem with getting eggshells in there. And when I'm cooking eggs, when I'm putting eggs in a frying pan, yes, I know I'm terrible at cracking eggs too.
Yeah,
Trust
maybe.
me, like I said, I'm not a
Maybe this is the bit where I got a little too self-deprecating, maybe. I can kind of see. I can see where they're coming from.
professional. See, I always either I don't hit it hard enough and I have a hell of a time getting the egg open, or I crack it too hard and it gets everywhere. But see, I know I'm not doing this the professional way, but you know, I am paying attention. I'm not getting any eggshells in there.
Use cheddar cheese in a hot dish and Parmesan cheese in pasta. That works.
I guess do it this way at your own risk, if you're worried about it. I started making this kind of frittata when I was working.
Yeah, see, they say not to crack eggs against the edge of the pan because supposedly it causes the eggshells to go up into the egg, and you're most likely to the habit, not the pan. Yeah, they always say, so I always crack them on the edge of the counter, but I never really get pieces of eggshell in the egg. Almost never, anyway.
Full time. I'm actually technically I'm unemployed. I'm trying to make a full-time job out of making videos right now, but
So let's see. Sometime in 2015, I started trying to make videos full time, and here we are in 2021, and I'm gonna have to get a job soon. So yeah, we can see how well that turned out.
throw these eggshells away.
This is a measuring cup.
This is
It's
something I
not a
used to do
polymer.
on Sunday afternoon, and
Oh, there we go.
the preparation doesn't take very long. It's one of those things where you can just get it ready and then just leave it to cook. And once it's done, it's done.
What the fuck what am I doing while I'm saying all this shit? Did I know I'm washing my hands now because I always get egg all over my hands whenever I crack eggs, but did I not get something out that I needed or something? I feel like it's easiest to crack eggs on a flat surface rather than the edge of something. Yeah, I do too. It's kind of a little harder getting a clean crack that, because you have to dig your fingernails in there, but someone in a car tried throwing an egg at you. I guess because you're on crutches and it landed like a meter from your foot. Oh my god, that sucks. I had someone throw an egg at me once while I was out walking. Kind of scary. It just happened out of nowhere. Everything they say about salt is a lie. Your body is made out of salt water. Yeah, I feel like people exaggerate how bad salt is for you. Now, the amount of sodium that's in prepackaged food is probably too much salt, but as far as adding salt to your food, I don't think that does very much. I've always heavily salted my food, and I've never had high blood pressure. Of course, now that I've said that. Hi, Mal. What you can't do is crack the egg one-handed and just drop the egg straight into a pan like a lot of chefs can. I can do that, but I always get it all over my hand. But I can do it. I haven't practiced. It's one of those things you probably have to practice at a lot. That's totally some black magic. What sort of wanker chucks eggs at people on crutches? Jesus, I know, right? What the fuck?
Hands a little bit. Like I've said, I'm terrible at cracking eggs, so I tend to get them all over my hands.
Yeah, I keep talking about how bad I am at stuff in this video. I can see that person's point. I may have overdone it a bit.
Start with a fork, but I'm actually going to use
I bumped the camera.
my hand mixer for this, but I like to break the eggs first. And of course, you could whisk these by hand. I'm kind of lazy. And they don't need to be perfect, but you generally want the yolks broken, and it's nice to get it a little bit, it's nice to get them a little bit fluffy. It's not a big deal, but...
I love salt.
In fact, I'm probably going to beat this just a little bit with the fork before, maybe I'll just beat it with the fork this time, because
Oh, that reminds me, I was saying I love salt, and sometimes if I don't put enough salt on my food, I'll put just a little bit on my hand and kind of chase the food with salt. I did that absent-mindedly one time while at my mom's house. We were celebrating something that, just having some dinner together during, like, I don't know, Easter or something probably. And anyway, I hadn't put enough salt in my food, so afterwards I put a tiny little bit of salt in my hand and I ate it, and my mom looked at me like, and she was like, "Did you really just do that?" I'm like, "What? I didn't put enough salt on my food." I don't know why I thought I could get away with that. You keep calling yourself unprofessional, Dina, but some of us have barely mastered the recipe for toast. One excellent video.
Using the electric beater in here is kind of messy. Stick blender with a beater attachment. Okay, so now is where I'm going to add all the stuff to
Frittata.
flavor it. I really just kind of eyeball this, but it's probably about, damn it, clumps up.
I hate that about
And don't worry, my hands are
Parmesan.
clean. But ooh, that might be okay. That might be a little more, but usually I go for.
I think some of the reason for me being so self-deprecating in this video and saying I'm not a professional and blah blah blah, I think it's because I've watched so many other cooking videos where people had been really like critical in the comment section, and I was like trying to cut those people off at the pass. But I never really got any criticism, but I was expecting to, I guess.
About a tablespoon, give or take, of Parmesan. And maybe half a tablespoon of each of the garlic and lemon powder.
Lemon powder? What the hell's lemon powder?
And probably about that amount of the salt and pepper too. The only downside to the pepper, it leaves these very unattractive black specks. And I'm considering buying white pepper just so it looks prettier. So the final product looks prettier.
I think I was going to say something, I forgot what it was. Oh well. Get those chunks of Parmesan out of there.
Just turn down the heat on the asparagus. It's starting to make kind of a sizzling sound. It's perfectly well cooked. I just wanted it. I just wanted it reheated, really. This is probably good enough. Like I said, you guys, I am so not a perfectionist when it comes to this sort of thing. So I know it's not beautiful, but you know, it's perfectly edible. So that's.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention, I like the kind of recipes where you can just eyeball the amount of ingredients. Like I was doing here, I just dump it into my hand and go, that looks like about a tablespoon, and then throw it in. I like being able to do that. I really do that with most regular cooking. You can't do that so much with baking. If you're making a cake or something, you need to be a little more specific with the amounts. But for cooking stuff like this, I like being able to just throw in the ingredients and not worrying about the exact amount I'm putting in. What would lemon powder be? I guess it could be ground up, like ground up lemon zest or something. Maybe lemon zest that's been dried and then ground up. I guess that's what lemon powder could be. Come to think of it, there is such a thing as lemon pepper, so I wonder if that's what's in there. Or if it's like from a lemon plant or something. I don't know. Personal culinary story. When she was a little girl, my parents caught my sister in the kitchen trying to mix an OXO cube into a tub of margarine. Apparently she was making a trifle. I don't know what OXO cube is. Did you ever end up buying the white pepper? No. Cooking with Dina, food. There you go. Yeah, lemon zest. I guess that's what lemon powder would be. Lemon zest, probably.
Really the important thing, if I were making this for a...
Cooking is a good mix of science and art, yeah. Or I like the saying that cooking is art, baking is science.
Guests or something, maybe I would try to make it prettier, but I mean, it's just for me, and it's just so I'll have lunch every day. and I don't have to make it from scratch. I can just reheat it. As I said, I started doing this when I had a...
You know what, maybe I may end up doing this again once I start working again, but I don't know. I'm hoping to have a part-time job, so maybe I won't be at work long enough to eat lunch, but we'll see, I guess. It sounds flammable. OXO is a gravy stock brand. Oh, okay, so OXO Cube is probably like, it's probably like, what do they call it? That powder, oh, I'm so fucking brain dead today. Bouillon. It sounds like bouillon. The entire video is just Dina pretending to cook something, and then the end has text saying food. That might be a fun April Fool's video to do. It'd be easier for me to have a time wand to prepare food.
A full-time job on just something that's for me to do Sunday afternoon to prepare for the work week. And I would make enough to make 5 of these, and I would just have one for lunch every day. And I would just keep them keep each one in a... I'll get to that part later. Yeah, and I still don't even know that I'm unemployed, because it does save me a little bit of time that I could be spending working on videos.
Sorry I'm pausing this so much. It's just the chat is so active. I feel the need to get caught up every once in a while. This is a long video too, so it's taking me forever to get through it. Yeah, it's 4:30, what the fuck? I've been watching this 10-minute video for half an hour. I need to stop pausing it so much. Do I know of Xavier Renegade Angel? I do not. Olive oil margarine contains mainly olive oil and other vegetable oils, milk solids, emulsifiers, food acids, vitamins, salt, and preservatives. I finally got a chance to search. Oh, okay. Interesting. Depends on what the other oils are. I tend to avoid stuff like canola oil because I don't think it's good for you. Oh, so it is basically bouillon. Okay. Same thing can be said about eggs. Eggs are considered as a superfood, yeah. They have over 12 vitamins and minerals, and salt needs to be eaten because the body can't produce it on its own. I'm so sorry. This fucking... I don't know why this stupid gnat wants to fly up in my face. Yeah, I hate the word superfood, but I think eggs are probably the closest thing to a superfood. They're just really good. They're good. You can do a lot of things with them, and they tend to fill you up because they got lots of fat and protein in them. You got olive oil, margarine. It's pretty good. I'm really curious. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that in the U.S. Maybe I'll see if I could find it out of curiosity. I'll have a look at the ingredients first just to make sure, but if there's nothing bad in it, maybe I'll give it a shot out of curiosity. We've been staring at your jar of eggs for a while now. I'm not complaining, just saying. Canola oil is bad, apparently. I thought it would be good because it's from vegetables. Yeah, no, that's the thing about some oils. It's hard to explain. You just... it has to do with, Canola oil comes from... Well, here's what it is. Canola oil comes from a plant called rapeseed. It's a great name, isn't it? you can. It's easy to tell why they changed the name to canola. It sounds a lot better than rapeseed oil. Anyway, it comes from a plant called rapeseed that is actually toxic. Supposedly the oil isn't toxic, but the general belief is that if it comes from a toxic plant, it's probably not good for you. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's superfood. Oh, apple cinnamon oatmeal. That sounds good. I haven't had oatmeal in a while. Dark roast coffee. Yeah, olive oil is good for you as long as it's actually olive oil and doesn't have... Sometimes they sneak canola oil in there, I've heard, but... It's the SNES version of food. Okay, let me finish this fucking video.
Okay, so I'm ready to put all the ingredients together. Okay, I'm now putting all the ingredients together. That was unsafe what I just did. Don't do that. Don't reach your arm across the pan when you don't have, especially when you're wearing short sleeve.
Yeah.
So this takes a little while, but I like to, but yeah, this is a little messy.
Planet called
I don't know that I
rapeseed.
really need to separate these, but I just feel like I should. So I do. Honestly, this is probably the most time-consuming part of this, and I wouldn't have to do it if I bought decent meat instead of relying on lunch meat, but, you know, I'm on a budget, so. If you are on less of a budget than me, feel free to use better stuff. I have also used ground beef for this. And
Hi,
that's
Dr.
really
Alley
good,
Cat.
too. If I have ground beef left over from when I make burgers.
Oh yeah, I've made ground beef with this
Which
too.
I'll probably make a
Or,
video
yeah.
about that too. That's another really simple thing. I make burgers for dinner a lot. Probably too often. Okay, that's good enough. Now I'm gonna save this paper plate and use it to put the frittata on once it's done cooking, because I feel like that helps it cool, and it especially, you know, keeps it from getting damp because of the condensation. I like to think that the paper kind of absorbs the moisture a little bit. And now, of course, you just slowly pour the eggs over. I always give it a little shake to kind of make sure they get into all the little crevices between the
All the little
ingredients.
nooks and crannies.
I'm seeing big chunks of egg white. There's going to be big like chunks of white on the finished product, but whatever. It really doesn't have to be pretty. This is not a restaurant. Okay, so it's probably going to take longer than this, but I usually start, well, first of all, you want to cover it. I usually start, by the way, this is set to probably medium-low. Technically, I use medium-low.
I kind of like the way you can see a reflection of my arm in the dials in this. I don't know. I'm easily amused.
For
Get
both
outta here,
parts,
Nat.
but for cooking the vegetables, I keep it on the higher end of medium-low, like 4.
I'm gonna kill that bitch if I get the chance.
Now I put it down to 2. Because you do not want these eggs to cook too fast, because what you don't want is to have them get burned on the outsides or the bottom while they're still uncooked inside. So you want this on a fairly low setting. I don't set it all the way to low. I kind of put it on about number 2. And I'll set the timer for about 15 minutes. And just walk away from it, and, you know, don't give it too much time. You want to check on it, but yeah, I just, like I said, I start with 15 minutes.
There's a remote in my hand again.
So 15 minutes later, I'll come back and see how this is doing.
Talk about unprofessional.
So, okay, next step, well, I'm off the stove, and this is a bit of a pain, but basically I'm going to put this on this paper plate. Hopefully, I don't know how well you can see this. Sorry if it's off frame a little bit, but basically
No, your arm is just in the way. You can get the gist of what I'm doing, but yeah.
lifting it out.
The camera was on the other side of the
Spatula
counter
while
somehow. That would have worked better.
Turning the frying pan over and kind of having gravity help it come out. And now now you can see me cut it, or you can in a second. Okay, I'm about to cut this frittata, and
Ooh, that looks good. I want one
I
now.
want to make this into 4 or 5 pieces. Ow. I think I'll go with 4 because 8 eggs is not a whole lot. Just kind of want to check and make sure the eggs is cooked all the way through. It looks like it is. Basically, if you can like touch it and it springs back, it's done. I'm not very good at cutting this, so
Stop talking about all the things you're not good at, Dina. Jesus.
kind of evenly, I should say. I go ahead and actually I leave that in, but what I do is, well, I'm not going to eat this right now. Usually I make this a little bit later in the day, right before lunch. I'm doing a little early today, but normally I will take 1 piece and put it on a plate, and the rest of these I'll kind of spread them out, and then a little later, hell, I'll just do it now.
Hell, I'll just do it
Basically what I
now.
do is I take 3 plastic containers, and put the rest of them in there.
Shatterhand has such a good soundtrack.
And I will leave them open on the counter. I don't have a problem with bugs or anything, so...
Lee made a funny comment about this video. The way I said I don't have a problem with bugs makes it sound like I don't mind bugs. I meant that we didn't have a bug problem at the time. Like I didn't have to worry about bugs getting in there.
I will leave them out on the counter.
I just thought that was funny.
With the lids off. And I'll just let them cool, and like an hour from now or so I'll come back to it and I'll put all the lids on and I'll put them in the fridge, and that's my breakfast for a week. I said breakfast. That's my lunch for a week.
You could eat those for breakfast. They have eggs in them.
I didn't have quite enough eggs to make 5 of these, so it's not going to last me the entire week. One day I'll have to have something else for lunch, but you know, still this you know, makes it so once lunchtime comes, all I have to do is just take one of these and pop it in the microwave. I don't know if I need to, but I usually microwave it with the lid on, but kind of open a little on the end so that it doesn't dry out. I've never had a problem with drying out. I don't know if that would actually happen, but it's just how I usually microwave things. So yeah, I could technically put the lids on and put them in the fridge right now, but
there's the remote. I didn't bother hiding it at all.
Very wet, which they're gonna get kind of wet in the fridge anyway. There ends up being some condensation, but you know, whatever. And you can see I didn't beat the eggs perfectly. There's a lot of white spots, but you know, normally I would use my stick blender with the beater attachment, but this time I didn't. So there you go. I mean, it's fairly easy. It takes a little while to cook, but the actual preparation doesn't take that long, especially if you do some of it ahead of time. And it's just, you know, mostly it's just getting it set up and just kind of leaving it to cook for 15 minutes. I mean, you can most likely make time. I don't know what your schedule is, but you can most likely make time in your day to do this. It's just take half an hour out of Sunday or whatever, and just
I'm just saying the same shit I said earlier.
It's pretty healthy. It's just, I mean, it's just eggs and some meat and just a little bit of, you know, Parmesan cheese for flavor, and you know, and it's another good way to, you know, sneak some more vegetables into your diet. If there are any cooked vegetables you like, obviously you can use whatever you want. It doesn't have to be asparagus. It's just what I had on hand. Like I said, I normally make broccoli to go on the bottom. And what else? Yeah, a lot of people, you know, frittatas, normally people will put cheese on the top, shredded cheese. I didn't do that because, like I said, I'm trying to keep the calories kind of low on these. So I think that's it. I hope you got something out of this. If people end up liking these, I'll do some more probably. Otherwise, it'll just be a one-time thing, whatever. Yeah, hope you like that. See you next time. See you in my next video, whatever that happens to be.
Oh god, it's the dump cake. The dump cake recipe. Okay, let me get caught up on the chat really quick. I also have to go to the bathroom, unfortunately. It took me 45 minutes to get through that freaking 20-minute video. What the hell? I like that I've seen rapeseed oil next to grapeseed oil. Yeah, that is pretty funny. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all other countries just call it rapeseed, but in America they changed it to canola. I think part of it is because it's made in Canada or something, so can you know, like the name is based on that. Green oatmeal superfood. Is it a frittata? Is it a baguette? No, it's rapeseed. Rapeseed is kind of a funny word to say, isn't it? Hi, Dr. Alleycat. I think I said hi to you earlier, but in case I didn't. I have an olive obsession. Olives are good. I've got some garlic stuffed olives in the fridge. I don't think he'll get poisoned, Brandon. Hi, Neo. Titanium white. I know it's just a typo, but the way the H is before the W makes it sound like it's supposed to be white. I'm easily amused, you and me both. That's probably why you like my videos. Did I say hi to Brandon? I think I did. Yeah, we could see the remote on the table as well. Don't burn yourself. In spite of the fact that I ate shortly before the video, my mouth is still watering at the frittata. It does look good, doesn't it? I burn myself sometimes and I just get so mad. I know, I hate when that happens. It always feels stupid because it's like usually something that was easily avoidable. This makes you want to eat, but you just ate. At least we know what advice President Dina would give to her past self if she could. You're not good at not talking about what you're not good at. Yeah, ham and cheese frittata, basically. Ate your breakfast fast, must have pictured those eggs subconsciously. Nah, I'm sure anybody could make this recipe. It's not hard. If you can scramble eggs, you can make this. How ironic was that bug comment, considering you've had a gnat getting in your face for half the stream? Yeah, that's true. The bugs add extra protein and crunch. Ew. Remote cooking. Dear neighbors, removing and grinding a tree. Shut up, I'm watching Dina. Professional video. No, I'm not going to watch something you want me to watch after this. I already know what I'm going to watch for this stream. Unless you mean after the stream, in which case I'll try to remember to. Do I have any videos of doing the washing up afterwards? No, I have not. I didn't think to do that. Blah blah blah, shut up, Nina. That was basically what I was saying to myself. Canadian poison. Yeah, everyone here is pretty awesome. It wasn't a typo, that's how Bob Ross said it. Ah. I guess I should have known that was intentional, but I just, for some reason, I thought it was a typo. I invoke Space Core Directive 6825-0 for the last video. It involves chicken and a rabbi. Oh, I did say hi. Okay, good. My brand of humor is a lot more sophisticated than yours. Hi, Ashtray. I think that's your first post. Was this made in your first house? This was made, let me think. Yeah, this was made in our, well, I haven't owned a house yet. This was our previous apartment. I had so much more counter space than I do now. That's probably why I haven't done any cooking videos since then. Like I said, like I was talking about earlier, I suppose I could film on the dining room table, but you can't, not everything can be done on the dining room table, I don't think. I'm hoping my next apartment will have a lot more counter space and I can film recipe videos again. Threw your back out on Saturday so you're bedridden. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I've done that, and I've never done it so badly that I couldn't get out of bed, but I have thrown my back out and it is not fun. Partly why I'm trying to lose weight now. I'm hoping it'll help my back problems. Used to make a lot of omelets with a lot of pepper in them. I say I don't like spicy food much, but I really love peppery omelets. Okay, I'm gonna actually no, I can wait a little longer. I think I can make it through at least one more video. Okay. Dina here. This video is my entry for Mike J's Dump Cake
I'm gonna turn this
Challenge.
up a little
If
bit.
you don't know what that is, I'll put a link in the description rather than waste time explaining it.
Let me know if
Here's
this
all
is
the
too loud.
ingredients and the directions, which I actually took a screen cap of and printed it out. Not that I don't trust Mike J to read the instructions properly, but yeah. So it called for 2 cans of tart cherries in
Mike J strikes me as the type that you can make fun of him a little bit and he'll know it's a joke, you know, like he'll appreciate it. He's kind of self-deprecating also.
water drained. My can opener decided to be a douche and not open that one properly. 1 box of chocolate
How many cooking videos are there where someone says the words like douche?
cake mix. And a 12-ounce can of Dr. Pepper, which I just bought a bottle and measured out 12 ounces of it, since we don't normally buy cans of soda. So first you're supposed to preheat the oven to 350 degrees, which I did. Spray a 13 by 9 inch baking pan with nonstick cooking spray. I don't keep stuff like that around, so I just greased it with some butter. Then you're supposed to spread the
I will say that once I started like really getting into baking, I honestly did start using canola oil again, not for my regular cooking, but just for making cakes and stuff like that that call for oil. Because I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want to be using up all my good olive oil on baking. So I do use canola oil now, but it's for but it's only for making cakes and stuff. Because I figure that stuff, cakes and cookies and stuff like that, they're going to be unhealthy anyway. So why worry about the oil when it's got sugar and flour and stuff in it? And what else was I going to say? Oh, I do use baking spray now, but it's I think it's olive oil baking spray. Yeah, I believe it is.
the cherries in the prepared pan. I thought I had drained that properly. Apparently I had not. I've never used canned cherries before, so I didn't realize that they don't drain as easily as, say, olives. But it was really easy to clean, so no big deal. Butter obviously kept it from sticking to the pan or anything. Anyway, I emptied the difficult one first to get that out of the way. I was a little worried because I tasted one of these cherries before doing this, and it tasted awful. Might have just been because it was room temperature. It might have tasted better if it was cold or even if it had been heated by then. But yeah, I was a little worried. So then I emptied the second.
Did I say there was Dr. Pepper in this? I guess there must have been. I missed it, but you all are talking about Dr. Pepper, so it must be. Yeah, Dr. Pepper is good. Is that one of those drinks where, like, I can get tired of it sometimes and grow to almost dislike it, and then after a while I'll like it again?
Can into the pan and then just kind of spread them out as best I could. Then you're supposed to top it with the cake mix and spread it out evenly, which I did. There seemed to be a lot of it. Then I used a knife to just kind of spread it around.
This recipe
try to make
sucks.
it as even as I could, and I also tried to break up any lumps. I don't know if those mattered or not, but it just seemed to make sense at the time. So the next step is to pour the soda over the top, covering the cake mix as much as possible.
Nope.
One of the first things I noticed is that a lot of the cake mix just kind of floated to the top of the soda. So I was just sort of hoping that it would end up dissolving into it as it cooked. But yeah, I was
There's Tara.
a little bit concerned about that, I have to say. So then I put it in the oven.
Actually, that's a better way for you to see
The
her.
instructions said to bake it for 35 to 40 minutes or until a toothpick inserted into the center of the cake comes out clean. I happen to know for a fact that my oven takes a
Oh my god, my nails were so long then. I don't know what happened, but this was a point where my nails were just growing so long. I actually eventually would have to clip them because they would get so long I couldn't type properly on the keyboard. I can never get them to grow that long again. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, I'm sorry to be talking about nails for those of you who don't care about this sort of thing, but what I think I did here is, like, I was painting them black on the outside and I was painting the underneath a contrasting color, and I think I went with, like, metallic green for the underneath.
a little longer to cook than what the instructions usually say, so I went ahead and gave it 45 minutes.
When it was about halfway through, I went ahead and took a peek at it, and yeah, sure enough, there was still dry cake mix sitting on the top. I still hoped that it was going to absorb into it.
Nope.
After the 45 minutes were up, I took it out, and still there's dry cake mix sitting on the top, which drives me freaking crazy. I don't actually have any toothpicks around, so I just took a knife and kind of cut a tiny little bit out of the middle to just sort of test it and see if it seemed too wet or whatever. And it seemed like maybe it was too wet. It's hard to tell. So I went ahead and gave it 5 more minutes. I also tried spreading that cake mix.
I remember when Mike J reacted to this video. He's like, "Stop messing with the cake mix. Stop spreading it all over." I think my hope was that if I kind of spread it thinly over the cake, maybe the moisture would cause it to, you know, I don't know, incorporate into it or something. I don't know. I wonder if, like, adding a tiny bit more soda on top at this point might have helped. I don't know.
Around a little more, hoping that by some miracle it might somehow get absorbed into the cake. So after that 5 minutes was up, I decided it was done, even though just look at all of this freaking dry cake mix that's sitting on top, and I'm able to even kind of dig some more out of the edge. That just bugs me. But at this point, you're supposed to let it sit and cool for 15 minutes before serving, so I did that. So I cut a piece out, and the bottom was still wet, which I can only assume it's meant to be that way. I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a cobbler. Would be nice if they told you that in the directions, or maybe had a picture of what it was supposed to look like when it was done, but oh well. The cherries actually tasted fine after being cooked. I think they just, they're tart, so when I tasted the one right out of the can, it tasted kind of sour and bitter and just not good. But cooked and everything, and with the chocolate, they tasted okay. Overall, this tastes okay. I wouldn't say it looks like a disaster with the...
For what it's worth, I remember I did eventually eat all of it. But, I'll eat anything that's chocolate flavored, even if it isn't that good. It's still chocolate,
The dry cake mix sitting on top. But it actually tasted okay. It wasn't bad enough to throw out or anything. Granted, I hardly ever...
You can barely see it on that black plate. I eventually bought white plates just for filming recipe videos.
Throw food out. I just don't feel right wasting food, so it'd have to be really bad for me to throw it out. But yeah, it came out okay. It looks terrible, and while I don't mind eating it myself, I would be embarrassed to serve this to guests, for example, because as I understand it, the whole point of dumpling...
Oh yeah, look at my nails. Look, they're black on the outside and metallic green underneath. Man, I miss when my nails would get that long.
You have people coming over, and it's like, oops, I need to throw something together really quick to serve them. And you do this because it doesn't involve any mixing or anything. For that purpose, no, I so would not do that. Now that I've made it and I've seen how it turns out.
It's so ugly, look at it.
But I cook often, and I'm a decent cook, and I would be embarrassed to serve this. If not for the freaking cake mix sitting on the top, it might be worthy of serving to people. I guess if for some reason I was forced to do this again, maybe I would actually take the time to mix the cake mix with the soda before pouring it over, which defeats the purpose of making a dump cake, but that's the only way I can think of it working.
Excuse me.
Lee basically agreed with me on the taste.
Yeah, the thing about mixing everything before you put it in the pan, like, you may as well just make a box cake. It would be the same amount of effort. So I had a certain person who I'm not going to name complaining about how, well, you're supposed to mix it. You should have just mixed it. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that defeats the purpose of a dump cake, because if you're gonna mix it, you may as well just make a box cake recipe.
He thinks it turned out just okay. He did not eat any of it after that initial taste I gave him.
Yeah,
so
I had to eat the
this
whole
kind of turned
thing.
into a bit of a review of sorts, but whatever. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.
Oh, here's where I started with the Undertale. Let me back that up a tiny bit. Yeah, this is the one. Oh, this is Pigs in a Blanket.
Yeah, this is where I started referencing Undertale with these, or parody? No, it's not really a parody, it's just more of a reference. Let me get caught up on the chat really quick, and then I'm gonna run to the bathroom. Drank maraschino cherry juice, and it tasted a tiny bit like cough syrup, I can imagine. I don't know if laying on a hard surface would help me whenever my back hurts. That always makes me feel worse. But maybe I'm a weirdo. I can make it through one video. No, these ones aren't torture. Some of the other ones were. Threw my back out once by moving slightly forward to shut off something. One of those times where I felt old. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know the feeling. Dr. Pepper, my daughter would approve. Yeah, Dr. Pepper's pretty good. Oh, I think I did read through some of these comments, but I didn't react to them or respond, whatever. Where was I? Stupid chat. Not you guys, the programming. I think I scroll down a little bit and it decides to refresh and I'm behind again. Dr. Pepper makes you bark at the moon. Monster and Red Bull does that to you. Yeah, I went through a phase where I was drinking energy drinks. Sometimes, just on the weekends when I wanted to stay up late. Basically, it depended on the weather. If it was cold, I would drink hot coffee, and if it was hot, I would drink cold energy drinks, or maybe like Mountain Dew or something. I would drink like half a can on Friday and half a can on Saturday, so I wasn't chugging the whole thing and making myself stay awake for a week or anything. Just shaking my head nope about the pouring of the soda. Yeah, because I knew how bad it was going to turn out. Coffee I just finished is going to make my legs act like a metal drummer. Need that energy for work in 7 minutes. Now I'm up to the point where I pointed out Tara. Oh yeah, I used to drink Snapple for a little while. That's pretty good. Come for the food, stay for the nails. Bish scratching nails. Black and green is a great combo, yeah. The undercoat contrast color sounds cool. Yeah, you know where I learned about that was what's the name of those? I don't know about fashion brands and shit, but there was a kind of a high heel shoe where the shoe was black, but like underneath it was bright red. So like they were high heels, and so you would see the bright red underneath. It was like something some designer did, and I saw a tutorial for doing that with nails, and it's like you paint your nail black and then you paint it bright red underneath. So it was that kind of idea. I think actually maybe I tried the red, but it looked so dark that it didn't really work because of the black on the other side. So I think the metallic worked better. Here I go talking about nails again. Well, at least someone likes the nail talk. Thanks, Kel. Have an image of Kat just taking that tray away out of the camera shot and just walking off with it. Was the black nails the Silent Hill phase? Nah. I've been into Silent Hill for a long time. Oh, first time watching The Ring, the whale scene, yeah. Almost looks like a brownie. Yeah, almost. Doesn't taste like a brownie. Actually, I don't remember what it tasted like, but I'm sure it wasn't as good as a brownie. I have made some really good brownies. I made some really good brownies during my baking phase recently. Total Recall featured the best scene of coloring nails ever captured on a film. I do not remember that. I've only seen... I don't even think I've ever seen Total Recall all the way through. I should really do something like that. Very peculiar cake recipe, yeah. Never seen one where you don't mix the dry and wet ingredients to make a batter. Yeah, and that's why it's called a dump cake. You're supposed to just dump everything in the pan and throw it in the oven. Damn it, I lost track again. Had to look up dump cake and it looks delicious. Well, I'm sure the official pictures of it look good. Make it in real life and it doesn't look so good. Getting confused between dreams and reality recently. I had a few lucid dreams, but I can't tell if something happened in a dream or not. The Rind sounds like either a cannibal film or a body horror. Hey, Oblivious. Looks like molten skin with brown sugar and cinnamon put on it. Dina, I can't believe I ate the whole thing. Yeah, something like that. Not that I ate it all in one sitting. I had it like for dessert every night until it was gone, basically. Looks way better than Lister's polymorph sausages. Thought the music was from Sonic 4. Nope, it was from Shatterhand. Or wait. Actually, I don't remember. I've already forgotten what music I used for Dump Cake. I was thinking of that was the first one that I used, Shatterhand. So I wonder how you're supposed to avoid having dry cake mix on top. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like these recipes just don't work and they never bothered testing them. They're like, this sounds good. And they published a book of it. This one got so many views. This one did? I got 1,000. Oh no, wait, that's oh, I actually got 99,000. Well, it's been up for a very long time. Where did I leave off? I'm an hour into this fucking stream and I'm only 3 videos in. Well, the next few will be very, very short, so. Start work now, gonna play in the background and comment when I can. Okay, George. Had pigs in a blanket videos coming up. I've had quite a few people, like, comment on that video that it looked really good and they were gonna try it. Something really calming about the cooking videos. You put them on when you're stressed. Aw. Poke site itches a little bit, but that's it. Well, that's good. I'm glad you didn't have any serious complications, not complications, but side effects there, Oblivious. Okay, Brandon, thanks for stopping by. He's gone already, probably. Thought something was moving in the background, but it was just Tara adjusting herself. Excuse me. Well, you did see something moving in the background. It was Tara. One of my friends drank a whole case of Vault. This is a huge mistake for a couple reasons. Yeah. Excuse me. Isn't Vault like a combination of energy drink and soda, or am I thinking of something else? Told my uncle that Red Bull was an alcoholic drink and he got drunk from the placebo. I don't know if you're joking, but that's hilarious. Bought all the colors of Monster and made a rainbow necklace out of the tabs. Yeah, they do have cool looking art on their cans. Watched my NES controller cake video when it came out and your reaction was to go to the shop and then bake a brownie. I think I remember that. Jaeger bombs before. I don't think I know what that is. Dump cake, but it's a literal butt. Total Recall is one of the best Arnold movies ever. I don't know about that, but I haven't seen all of it, so I can't really judge. Hi, Craig. Yep, the recipe looks good. Throw it in the book and let them figure it out from there. Yeah, pretty much. Well, mainly I'll just keep going until the videos are done. I hope I don't go more than like half an hour over, but we'll see, I guess. Thought about trying the pigs in a blanket recipe, but for whatever reason, you just couldn't seem to find the relevant ingredients in the supermarket. Posted that pic of the brownie on the server. Yeah, I remember that. I'm pretty good, Craig. How are you? I recently made nachos with cocktail franks, and it worked very well. That sounds good. Also used blue corn chips, mozzarella, and habanero and chipotle salsa. Sounds like too spicy for me, but other than that, it sounds good. A can of V-Jolt. Didn't I say that V-Jolt sounded like an energy drink when I did that Let's Play? Jaeger Bomb is a Jägermeister, an energy drink, usually Red Bull. As for the Vault, it's a... Oh, okay. Hybrid soda energy drink. Okay, I thought so. Okay, yeah. Yeah, combining Jägermeister and Red Bull sounds like a very bad idea. I love the taste of Jägermeister, but I know that combining energy drinks and alcohol is just a bad idea from what I hear. I don't think anyone's complaining about the extra time. Okay, I'm gonna run to the bathroom and then I'll be right back. Well, not literally run, because that'll hurt my ankle probably, but I'll try to be quick. I'm gonna get some cider and keep watching the stream. Cool. Okay, I'm back. Love spicy stuff, the spicier the better. Yeah, I like some spice in my food, but there's a limit for me. Combining stimulants and depressants is generally a bad thing, yeah. Last time you went to the bathroom, Tara started watching us like she could read our minds. I remember that. I remember you guys saying that. Cry when eating a curry. Send me your PIN numbers. Tara knows how to lure us into a false sense of security. Remind you to change your name back when the stream ends. Oh, ironic. Ironic iron. You haven't heard of pigs in a blanket? Well, you're about to learn. But Tara would make a great streamer. She'd probably get more views than I do. Okay.
Hey, Dina here. So I know pigs in a blanket is about as basic as you can get, but since my husband loves it a lot, I tend to make it for special occasions, and I've come up with a few little extra things I like to do with it, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. So the ingredients I used here are Pillsbury crescent rolls. I used butterflake this time around, but I didn't really notice a difference, so feel free to use plain. Cocktail sausages. I use Hillshire Farms Little Smokies. I normally try to use the kind with bits of cheese in it, but I think it wasn't available at the time. My own addition is onion powder and garlic powder. I basically put that shit on everything.
I got so many comments of people laughing at that, me saying I put that shit on everything, which is funny to me because it's, you know, not that... I guess people just don't expect to hear swearing in a cooking video. They're usually so, like, kid-friendly and everything.
Also need an egg for later, and I recommend using a pizza cutter for dividing the dough. You could probably use a knife if you don't have one, but I find that the pizza cutter makes it really easy. I will actually put a link to the recipe I use, but I'll take you through the process anyway.
Oh yeah, I just remembered Soul makes an appearance in this. Oh, look at my Sobek statue. I think that's... Yeah, that's actually still on the table. He's buried under a bunch of shit, but he's still there. Oh, there's the damn remote. Damn it. I'm sure I forgot it was there. Trying to be a little more... By the time I got to this point, I was trying to be a little more professional.
Anyway. So the first thing you'll want to do is pop open the roll of dough, trying not to scare yourself in the process. Seriously, some people get really freaked out about this. It's funny. Then you roll it out on a cutting board of some kind. I like to use this big flexible one. Now it's already 8 triangular sections, but you want to cut all the way through each of the perforated edges. And cut each of those triangles into 3 triangles. Sorry these aren't the best camera angles, I'm still learning as I go here. Anyway, at this point I use the onion and garlic powders. It may look like a lot, but the flavor isn't going to be all that strong. So now I've set up a workstation with the sausages in the middle and a baking sheet lined with foil on the right. I roll each sausage into a triangle, starting with the wide edge. Then I put each onto the baking sheet, with the point of the triangle underneath. The dough is going to rise when it cooks, of course, so you want to space them out a bit side to side, but the ends of the sausages can touch if you need the extra space in the pan. I was making these ahead of time so I could bake them a little later, so I covered them with foil and put them in the fridge. They don't need to be refrigerated, I just did that so I could...
Oh, look at baby Soul! I can't believe he was ever that small. He's at least 3 times that size now. Soul thought about helping, but changed his mind.
Get most of the preparation done early.
Just looks around and then he goes back down.
Once I was ready to bake them, I beat the egg and brushed some of the egg onto the dough using the back of a small spoon since I don't have a pastry brush. You don't have to do this, but I like how it makes them look all golden brown and glossy afterwards.
I have since bought a pastry brush.
Then I put them into the oven, which had been
I don't use it much, but it's good to have around.
And gave them 15 minutes. After that, they weren't very well cooked, so I gave them another 5. After that, I tested one and they were still pretty doughy, so I gave it 5 more minutes. It ended up taking 25, even though the recipe said 15. I really think my oven is slow. This happens pretty much any time I bake anything.
Happens with my current oven, too, so I don't know, maybe all ovens are slow? I don't know.
Anyway, here's what the finished product looks like. I made them along with some fries. The pastry part is golden brown and flaky outside and soft inside, and the sausages are nicely brown, too. These are really addictive, and I don't normally much care for sweet hot mustard, but they are awesome with sweet hot mustard for some reason. Or regular mustard, or barbecue sauce, or ranch dip, pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
And here they are in the shape of a heart because I made them for Valentine's Day. Obviously this isn't the healthiest thing.
I mean, I asked Lee what he wanted for dinner on Valentine's Day, and he said, pigs in a blanket. Like, I could have made something more classy, but this was what he wanted, so...
But they aren't meant to be eaten every day, just once in a while. Anyway, if you found that informative and end up making them, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, I got it paused. Ooh, butterscotch cinnamon pie is next. That was when I really leaned into the Undertale references. Okay, let me get caught up on the chat real quick. Fortunately, the videos are really short now, so I won't be pausing them too much. When was the last time you made these? Oh, actually it's been a little while. Oh, you know what? I'm sure I made them for New Year's. I don't think I've made them since then. Swearing makes everything better. Want to make gherkins in a blanket to satiate my gherkin addiction. Vulgar cooking channel. Take this shit and you mix it up with this crap. Just mix the fuck out of it. About to comment on the remote. Why would anyone get freaked out about opening dough? Because it kind of pops open and it can startle people a little bit. Little non-chonky soul. Iken has cooking show. They are so good. I haven't had them in ages, but they are so good. Also works well with breakfast sausage. Oh yeah, it would. Cut the dough in half for that since those sausages are bigger and rolled them with some cheese. Oh, that sounds so good. Lee does have good taste. Hot Pockets and banquet chicken pot pie with ranch. I'm just a wizard and it messes with technology. Closest emoji you get to pigs in a blanket. Butterscotch cinnamon pie. I may eat my phone. Number one rule of cooking, never cook things naked, no matter how sexy it might be. Yeah, that'd be dangerous. Like, at least wear an apron.
Hey, Dina here. So, one of the things I took away from Undertale was that butterscotch cinnamon pie sounded really interesting and probably awesome. Fortunately, there are recipes all over the internet. I ended up taking 2 of them and basically did a hybrid. I'll put links to both recipes in the description so you can check them out if you want to. This is actually my second time making this, and I pretty much replicated what I did the first time. Since it was my first time making it, I simplified it a bit and used a pre-made pie crust and ready whip rather than making a pie crust and whipped cream from scratch. I may try that sometime, and if I do, I'll make another video about it.
Still haven't tried making everything from scratch, but I still would like to try it one day, just out of curiosity to see if there's a major difference. But this thing is so freaking good, it doesn't really hurt anything to use a pre-made pie crust and whipped cream out of a can. Oh, sorry.
But I wanted to keep it simple for this time. So the ingredients I used here are 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 2 cups of full-fat milk, 1/3 cup of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch or corn flour, 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla.
I'm a lot better at framing these shots now, so I'm not holding things out of the frame.
And for the crust, I used Keebler graham cracker crust. I actually ended up adding things in the wrong order. The recipe I went by for this part said to add the sugar, flour, cornstarch, and salt, whisk them together, and then slowly pour in the milk. I thought they had forgotten about the butter, so I started melting the butter first and then adding all the dry ingredients and went from there. Turns out that you're supposed to add the butter last, but mine turned out fine, so it probably doesn't matter what order you add stuff.
It didn't have a whisk.
Also, I had the
time.
heat on medium. Seems like my stove runs hotter than normal because if I ever follow a recipe exactly for that, it always burns. So I always go down a setting. Like if it says medium high, I go with medium. For medium, I go medium low, etc.
It's like ovens are too slow, stoves are too fast.
While waiting for the butter to melt, I whisked
my-
the eggs with a fork.
always
I
my
also added the
experience.
vanilla to the eggs. That's a trick I learned from Gretchen's Bakery. She does it so she doesn't forget to add the vanilla at the end because it's easy to forget. I think it's a good idea, so I try to do it too.
Also, I don't actually have a whisk, so I just used the whisk attachment from my stick blender. Looks kind of goofy, but it works. Anyway, I just stirred until the butter was completely
I have since
melted
gotten one,
and
of
everything
course.
was well combined. Then I added the milk a little at a time, stirring it really well between each addition. And at this point, for some reason, I decided to taste it and realized that it was not sweet at all because I forgot to add the brown sugar. Duh. Like I said, though, adding stuff out of order doesn't seem to have hurt any. So at this point, I just heat and stir until it thickens. And keep an eye on it, because for a long time it stays liquid and doesn't look like it's ever going to thicken. But once it starts to thicken, it thickens up really fast. But basically, you want it to have the consistency of pudding, otherwise it won't set
You can add
properly.
more than that.
So once it started to thicken is when I decided to add the eggs. You have to temper them first so you don't end up with scrambled eggs. The first time I made this, I tried to do this but ended up with little white specks in the pie. It didn't affect the texture any, but it doesn't look as pretty. I had a hell of a time getting the eggs to heat up this time. I think I was afraid of adding too much of the batter to the eggs and heating them up too fast. In the end, I got impatient and just started pouring some of the hot batter into the bowl, and apparently that's what I should have done in the first place.
Yeah.
Go figure. The batter got really thick to the point where it was almost forming a blob and was pulling away from the sides of the pot slightly, which resulted in a slightly more solid end product, but that's fine. So at this point, you just have to pour it into the pie shell, smooth it out a little,
Flop.
and stick it into the fridge to let it set. I'm not sure for how long. I normally just make it the night before. I ended up finding a single little bit of cooked egg, which I fished out, but that was it.
There's always some
So
little
here's
bit
the
of
finished
egg left.
product. It turned out perfect. It just needed a bit of Ready Whip. I don't use Cool Whip because there's hardly any dairy in it and it's mostly made from junk oils and I just think that's gross.
Yep.
This pie is delicious. It's not overly sweet despite it being butterscotch flavored, and butterscotch is literally just butter and sugar and normally tends to be very sweet. It's just sweet enough and it's got the perfect amount of cinnamon. You can taste the cinnamon, but it
good.
doesn't overwhelm the butterscotch. It's perfect.
I want
and
it
of course,
now.
adding
Damn
whipped
it.
cream makes it even better. It's easy to see why Toriel's family likes it so much. Let me know if you decide to make this, and that is all, my child. Be good, all right?
Everyone likes my Toriel voice. I couldn't resist. A quarter slice of cheese and a croissant, and you have some very low effort kolache? I don't know what that is, but that does sound really good. Breakfast pastries. Oh yeah, that does sound really good. Especially if you do outdoor barbecue. Oh, hey Alexander. Miss when Undertale was big. Watching your Let's Plays was fun. Yeah, I also miss when Undertale was big. I wish the sequel would come out. I can't remember what it was called now. Cry crusts are a pain in the ass to make from scratch. Yeah, they look like they are. Or, I mean, they don't look that difficult, but they just look like too much effort. Too much effort for what they are, maybe. Always fun to catch a Dina stream. Thank you. This would go well with the drink butterbeer from Harry Potter. Whipped cream, though, is night and day different when it's made from scratch. Oh, I'm sure it's better from scratch. I'm just saying, this pie is so damn good, and you don't have to. I agree with pie crust when making pumpkin pie, but I have made crust from scratch and it is better than pre-made. Makes sense, most things are better. Most homemade versions of things are better than the pre-made. Tina removes 1 spoonful of chili powder out of the can and then pours the rest of the can into the mixing bowl. Lister's method of adding spice. I'm not a wizard. I'm just good at following directions. You don't have a whisk, so you used a whisk. Cute black fingernails. Thank you. Unless they're not as long as in the previous video. Groinal socket. It's amazing how few people are prepared to eat them. That was a good line.
I'm the rebel baker. Pie goes plop. How can you not like whipped cream? That's just insanity. Hi, Glare Showstopper. I don't think I saw you commenting before. I actually made this pie using your video as a reference. Turned out really good. Awesome. Delta Rune, thank you. I knew I knew it was on the tip of my tongue. It's been a while. Undertale 2, we're still under and we're still telling tales. Kolache. Oh, okay. That was how I was originally going to pronounce it, but I wasn't sure if that was right. A Czech savory breakfast pastry of a sweet and buttery yeast roll with savory filling, usually a small smoked sausage like Little Smokies or ham and cheese. That sounds good. I don't know why it hasn't spread, but here in Texas, they're everywhere in donut shops and places like that. That does sound good. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is curry turkey burgers. These are so good. This is another thing I make a lot. Whoops.
Hey, Dina here. I originally got this recipe for curry turkey burgers from a friend on a message board years ago, and I have been making them ever since. They are simple and amazing. The ingredients you will need are 2 pounds of ground turkey. This is actually 3 pounds, and I didn't have enough of everything else, so consider this a do as I say, not as I do situation. 1 tablespoon of curry powder, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon each of salt and pepper, minced garlic. I usually use a small spoonful of the kind from a jar. 5 to 6 green onions, smoked cheddar sliced. You can use regular cheddar if you can't find smoked, but I really recommend smoked. It's part of what makes these burgers so unique.
Use the smoked
First,
cheddar.
I cut up the green onions as finely as I can because I just don't like
my
big
hands
chunks
in the
of onion
way
in my burgers. I generally only use the white parts with just
And my
maybe an inch or
shoulders.
so of the green part. Next, you dump the ground turkey into a bowl, add all of the other ingredients, except for the cheese, obviously, and just get in there and mix it with your hands. It's a pain and I hate doing it, but the good part is I normally get 6 patties out of it, which means 3 dinners in my household, and I only have to do this once. Again, I'm using more meat than this recipe called for, and it's hard enough to mix this thoroughly as it is, so I added the spices in 2 batches. So at this point I get ready to form the burgers. My method for getting them roughly the same size is to just grab handfuls of the mixture and form balls with them and just kind of go by how they feel in my hands. If they feel too small, I'll just grab a little meat from the bigger ones and add it to the small ones. It's not a perfect method, but I find it works pretty well and there are no extra tools like a scale involved. Speaking of techniques, here's one that
Ooh, look
will
at
work
those
for any
shiny
kind
red
of
nails.
burger, and it's a big time saver in the long run. As I form the patties, I put them in gallon-sized Ziploc bags, 2 in each. I try to make the patties as flat as I can, a little thinner in the middle than on the edges since they
I love doing this. Make burgers ahead of time. Make burger patties ahead of time. Stick them in the freezer.
tend to shrink and puff up when you cook them. So I normally end up with 3 gallon-sized bags, each with 2 burgers in them. One goes in the fridge for that evening and the other 2 go in the freezer. So whenever you want to make burgers that night, just grab one of those bags and put it on the counter or in the fridge to thaw in the morning. That evening, all you have to do is cook them. You don't have to fuss with forming the patties or anything.
Yep, it's awesome.
So anyway, back to this recipe. I preheat the pan for around 15 minutes on medium-low, and then I cook them for about 7 minutes on one side.
Those are big patties.
5 if they're smaller, but these were kind of big, so they
Yeah,
needed the extra
they
time.
barely fit in the pan.
Don't you hate the crud that forms on ground meat patties? I always scrape it off. Anyway, flip
That's another thing you would normally hear in a recipe video. Don't you hate the crud that forms on burger patties?
them over carefully because these release a lot of juice and you don't want to splash yourself with it like I just did. This is a better method. Then I give them about 2 minutes before adding the cheese slices. Then give them about 5 more, but keep an eye on it. Smoked cheddar looks like it's not going to melt for the longest time, and then if you turn away for a split second, it just melts everywhere. This is why I try to cook them a couple minutes on that side before adding the cheese, so that if it looks like the cheese is about to liquefy, I can take them off the heat and they will most likely be cooked enough. And that's it. Put it on a bun and you're done. Or better yet, have it without the bun. I actually think it's better that way. Either way, it needs no condiments in my opinion. The burgers have just enough heat and spice, and the smoked cheddar adds a ton of flavor. They taste nothing like regular burgers.
Yep.
Anyway, if you end up making these, let me know how they turn out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
That was when I started adding a list of my list of patrons at the end. I slowed down the music here because it seemed a little too fast for a cooking video. Oh, not too much to get caught up on in the chat. Eating turkey burgers in school. Okay. Yeah, turkey burgers on their own are kind of plain, but when you add curry and stuff, they're really good. Never had turkey at all? Like you've literally never had turkey? Yeah, smoked cheddar is good. Imagine Crichton cooking these recipes. Now that'd be a fun video to do. I can't do a good enough Crichton impression to pull it off, but that'd be good for somebody to do. Made turkey burgers with cayenne, but I should try this recipe. Yeah, definitely try this recipe. It's so good. Just did that to make meatballs for dinner. Had to wait until I finished eating before joining the stream so I wouldn't get hungry. We had homemade burgers recently, not turkey, but still nice. Yeah, homemade burgers are good. The crud. I'm nothing if not down to earth. Borga. Toiki Boigers. That would be, yeah, that is a Boston accent, isn't it? Oh, complete with the links at the end. Don't forget to watch my Halloween and Edward Scissorhands videos, everybody. And subscribe to my Patreon. Oh god, these are gonna kill me.
Hey, Dina here. I made these cookies last year at Christmas time, and they are possibly the best chocolate.
I should have done a little bit of color correction because they look slightly green. I didn't notice until someone said it in the comments section, and I got kind of annoyed with the way they said it, but they were right. They should have been nicer about it. They were like, ew, those look disgusting. What's wrong with your lighting or something like that.
Chocolate chip cookies I've ever had. Plus, I came up with a method for making them last longer. Really, this video is more about the method than the recipe, but I will share the recipe and show how they were made. Now, I got this recipe from Gretchen's Bakery, which is a website.
Yeah, that website doesn't exist anymore. Well, okay, Gretchen's Vegan Bakery does exist still, but she kind of took down all her non-vegan recipes, so you no longer can find this on her website. I didn't put the recipe in here. What happens if you click on the link? Yeah. Oops, I never put the recipe in the comments section. Whoops. Well, this is really more about the method than the recipe, I think.
And a YouTube channel, which I highly recommend checking out. For this recipe, I used the alteration she suggested for a softer cookie. If you want a crunchier cookie, you should check out the...
Well, you could almost pause it and... you can almost pause it and see the recipe. I don't know if you can see the whole thing there.
The original recipe. Honestly, you should check out the original recipe either way. Anyway...
Well, you should have when you could.
You will need 2 sticks of butter at room temperature, 2 cups of light brown sugar,
Whoops.
though I use dark, not sure what the difference would be,
Almost
to
couldn't
be
see
honest.
it there.
1 teaspoon of salt, not sure why it isn't in the shot, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 large eggs at room temp, a half a cup of all-purpose flour, 1 3/4 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 to 3 cups of chocolate chips. I went with semi-sweet
Binder
because
clip.
I thought milk chocolate was too sweet when I made it last time.
Yep. Semi-sweet
Cream
is
the
way
butter
to go
and
with
sugar
this.
for about 5 minutes until light and fluffy. I tried using my stick blender with the whisk attachment and it worked okay,
That
but I
damn
ended up
stick blender.
spraying sugar everywhere in the beginning, so I stopped and did some light mixing with a spoon before continuing, and that helped. But my arm eventually got pretty tired. A single whisk is just too small to handle all of that. I have since gotten a stand mixer, so
Yes.
future baking videos should be better than this one.
Thank God
Either
for that
way,
stand
don't forget
mixer.
to stop and scrape the sides of the bowl once in a while. At this point, I added the vanilla extract and 1 egg, and then mixed again
Having a
until
little
it was
trouble cracking that
incorporated before
egg.
adding the second egg and mixing again. Then I sifted the flour, baking powder, and salt together and added it all before going back to mixing.
I mixed with a spoon, but I knew that was going to take a while, so I didn't film very much of it. You're supposed to be careful not to overmix it, but I'm not sure how you'd even be able to tell.
Yeah.
Now, the recipe says to add 2 to 3 cups of chocolate chips. I went with 2, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Again, mixing it was a pain, and I'm so glad I have a stand mixer now. I actually got in there with my hands and kneaded it to make sure that the chips were evenly mixed into the dough.
I still do that sometimes when I'm making chocolate chip cookies if the dough is, stiff enough that it doesn't get all over my hands. It's just easier to mix it that way when you get to the chips.
So now comes the technique that I came up with. Roll the cookie mixture into balls that are about a heaping tablespoon and place them in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. If you watched my curry turkey burger video, you probably already know where this is going.
Same idea.
Keep them in one layer. They can be touching each other, but only at the edges. If you just lump them all in, you'll end up with a big frozen lump, because you are going to put these in the freezer. Once they're frozen, they don't have to be in a single layer anymore. The whole point of this is that however many cookies you want to eat right now is the number that you're going to bake. I usually go with 6, so it'll be
I am
3
a
for
goddamn
me and 3 for my
genius.
hubby. Basically, every time you want cookies, you'll have them fresh baked right out of the oven.
Damn
I just
right.
think that's so much better than baking all of them at once and only having some of them right out of the oven and the rest cold whenever you get around to eating them. It also helps you to not eat too many at once, since there's a bit of effort involved every time, which means they last longer. So it took me a
Hit
few
the camera
tries to
again.
remember exactly how I did it last year, but here's what I came up with. Get out a pan and line it with foil or parchment paper, and then put the frozen cookie balls on it. Then preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Then go off and do whatever while it preheats. Once it's done preheating, the cookie should still be slightly frozen, but soft enough to flatten with the heel of your hand. Then I grab some leftover chocolate chips and I push several of them into the tops of the cookies, wherever there's room. This is what they do at bakeries to make the cookies look better. Plus, that's extra chocolate, which is never a bad thing. Then I bake them for 15 minutes, and this is about how big they end up being. Now, I don't recall having to flatten them last year, so I'm thinking maybe I made them bigger. When the cookie balls are chilled, they
Or maybe just wait longer to cook them. I think that's what I do now. I don't think I still flatten them. I don't know. I haven't made them since Christmas.
tend to not spread out as much when they bake, which is part of the reason you have to flatten them at first. Otherwise, you end up with cookies that are a bit too round, in my opinion. Either way, they come out nice and soft, and be careful not to burn yourself, but these are so good when they're still warm and the chocolate is still melty. And the best part is that there are more...
Yeah, in fact, I think what I end up doing is I bake them for 15 minutes and then I let them sit for 15 minutes to cool off enough that they're like... You know, because when you first take them out of the oven, not only are they way too hot, but like they're, you know, they fall apart easily, so they need to set a little bit. So, like, I bake for 15 minutes and then I let them sit for 15 minutes and then, you know, eat them.
more waiting in the freezer for whenever you want to have them again. Anyway, if you end up making these, let me know how they turn out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I think with these videos I was always trying to advertise my film den videos because I didn't really, that's what I really wanted people to be watching, and not these cooking videos so much. Yeah, my parents always just made chicken on the holidays for some reason. Huh. Some people just really don't like turkey, so maybe that's why, but I don't know. I like having it once a year. It's not, turkey isn't the best thing, but Crichton would have to add curry powder for everything because of Lister. That's true. Turkey is very bland, which is good because it takes on the flavor of whatever you add, which is why there's so much turkey whatever. Turkey sausages, turkey bacon, turkey burgers, turkey meatballs. Yeah. One of my cousins is allergic to turkey, probably the tryptophan or whatever. Whatever it is that's in turkey. Oh, that's interesting. Already done the subscribing to the Patreon thing. From cooking videos to Halloween and Edward Scissorhands, totally related. Chocolate chip cookies, your favorite. I think some people just want an excuse to moan Dina. Softer cookies are the way to go, yeah, I agree. Whoops. Yeah, that's a pretty standard chocolate chip cookie recipe, though about 1.5 cups more sugar.
It's Special Iron's job to make the typos around here. Stand mixers are a lifesaver for baking. They really are. My local pizza place sells tubs of edible cookie dough. I tried baking with it, but it came out too thin. Yeah. Usually, the thing about edible cookie dough is they have to, they can't put eggs in it. Like, legally, they can't have, like, raw eggs in there, so they don't tend to cook well, bake well, whatever. So just ate it from the tub as intended. Not all at once, though, but it was tempting, yeah. Would have meant 2 or 3 cups of chocolate chips to 2 or 3 bags. The more you mix them, the more gluten gets formed, yeah. If you add in the flour in 3 or 4 doses, it mixes easier. Also, chilling the cookies keeps them from spreading so they don't get as thin and crispy, yeah. Cookies are one of your specialties, huh? Oh. Be careful not to burn yourself. Ma'am, I think you underestimate my ability to hurt myself in pursuit of cookies. Hence the warning. You'd have to eat them with a spoon or something. They'd be falling apart. Okay, Craig, thanks for stopping by, even though you're probably already gone. Choco Plop cookies. Gluten formation in cookies isn't bad unless someone has an issue with gluten. They just end up chewier, yeah. Don't anyone else try to out-typo me. And you put a typo in that sentence. Typo. Well, what can I say? I love me chocolate chips. Oh yeah, the Rice Krispie treats. Yeah, I think there was one Christmas where I filmed like the chocolate chip cookies and the Rice Krispie. Oh, you know what? There's a missing one here. Hang on. How do I search across my channel? Oh. Hang on 1 second. I left one out. I don't know if I'm going to end up putting it in exactly the right order here, but studio. I just happen to remember I don't have the recipe for Christmas crack in here. No, wait. How do I guess I have to open it all the way. Okay, and then save to watch party. So it should be in this list. Let me refresh here. Actually, let me just there we go, refresh it. Oh, there it is. Oh, and it put it in the right order. Perfect. Cool. Okay. Okay, sorry. Let me get back to where I was on. Okay, I've still got the live streaming page open. Good. That might be bad if I didn't. I don't know if it would immediately stop streaming, but... Okay, there we are. Me fail English? That's impossible. I myself am a gluten for sweets. What? Chocolate chip cookies are a great beginner recipe for fiddling with a baking recipe because so long as you don't stray too far, you can't really ruin them. You know what I used to do when I was a kid? I would take a chocolate chip cookie recipe and I would use like, I don't know the exact amount. It would change every time, but I would use every different kind of chip I could find at the store. Like I would use like chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, peanut butter chips, butterscotch chips, and I would use like, I would like multiply the amount of chips you were supposed to use, so it was like mostly chips with just enough dough to hold them together. Oh, they were really good, but they were very chippy. You can't really taste the cookie part at all. It was just all chips. Just tiny changes can make a huge difference, yeah. Yes, it's called Christmas crack. It's coming up. It's after the Oreo truffles. The ironing is delicious. Yeah, Rice Krispie treats are a good starter recipe. Favorite Ralph Wiggum quote. My cat's breath smells like cat food. I remember that one. I hear you, Tara. I am busy over here. Oh my god, she's such a baby. Oh, come here. Come here. Nah. Managed to fail abysmally at Rice Krispie treats. So they fell apart immediately. I don't know how you could fail at that. Maybe you didn't use enough marshmallow. Bloodhound Gang have a song that the lyrics are nothing but Ralph Wiggum quotes. I'm in danger. I remember you were trying to get hold of... Oh yeah, the mint chips for a recipe some months ago. I never made a video about that, but yeah, I had an idea to make chocolate cookies with mint chips, and it took me a long time to find mint chips. I eventually found them on nuts.com. Yeah, it sounds like something that should be easy to find, but... Also got lemon chips from nuts.com, and I put those in strawberry flavored cookies. Those were really good. Why does everyone run from me? I don't remember that quote. Tara doing a Ralph impression. She heard me say cat food. It's possible. The doctor said I wouldn't... Doctor said I wouldn't have any nosebleeds if I kept my finger out of there. I bent my Wookiee. There was a show I used to watch that used to play a soundbite of that all the time. It's more chocolate chip than cookie, twisted and sugary. Dying tickles? Oh. Must be another Ralph Wiggum quote. Yeah, I didn't realize that you needed marshmallow for the longest time. What the hell were you using then? Just Rice Krispie treats and butter? When the doctor said I didn't have worms anymore, that was the happiest day of my life. Thanks, Ralph. Very graphic. Okay.
Hey, Dina here.
It's nearly 6. Oh my god.
Sometimes it's fun to take an old common recipe and add something to it to make it your own. And that's obviously what I've done here. In fact, it's so much about what I'm adding that I...
They were yummy. They were really good. I made them at Christmas time, but, you know, they can be made whenever.
Didn't even bother to film where I made the Rice Krispie treats. But I will put the recipe in the description anyway, since some are slightly different.
These look kind of... I don't like the way the green looks. I think I mentioned this at the end, but yeah, the green kind of makes them look like boogers or something.
Anyway, after the Rice Krispie treats are all made and set...
Oh god, I just remembered the boogers in cum thing in South Park, and that's what those look like to me now. Ah!
I like to cut them into squares, put them on a sheet pan lined with butcher paper, then I stick it in the freezer because they need to be very cold before the next step. Meanwhile, I melt some chocolate. Generally, I go with semi-sweet because the Rice Krispie treats are pretty sweet on their own. Depending on the consistency of the melted chocolate, it may need to be thinned out a bit with oil. I prefer to use coconut oil. Also, make sure it's not too hot. It should obviously be warm so it's runny, but you don't want it too hot, otherwise it'll start to melt the Rice Krispie treats. Then you take each Rice Krispie square and dip the bottom into the chocolate. Then you put each one onto the sheet pan and immediately put them back in the freezer. Again, the goal is to keep them as cold as possible so they don't start to melt. I learned that the hard way last year. We will not be storing them in the freezer. So after letting them all chill for a bit, melt some more chocolate if you don't have enough left over, and just drizzle it over the Rice Krispie treats. There's just something about this technique that makes almost any dessert look pretty and professional.
I know, and it's so easy to do.
Once again, you want the chocolate to be thin so you can get those delicate little strands. Now you can't stop here, but since I was making these for Christmas, I decided to drizzle some green candy melts as well.
Don't use
green. If you don't know, candy melts are basically white chocolate that's had color added to it.
Though I have to admit, I'm not crazy about what boogers think from South Park. It was, oh God, it was the episode where Cartman was he was making a big deal out of the fact that he had an account on, what's the name of that website where people rate restaurants and stuff. It's such an obvious thing, and I can't think of it right now. What's the name of that website where people rate restaurants and stuff? Not just restaurants, but, oh, actually, I have it open. Hang on a second. Yelp. Carmen was making a big deal out of the fact that he had a Yelp account, and he was, going to restaurants and telling them up front, I have a Yelp. I'm going to make a Yelp review about this, so you better do whatever I want or whatever. And the end had all the restaurants kind of like getting back at people by putting boogers and cum in all of the food. So that's what I was talking about. And with the green and white on these, that's what that makes me think of now. About this shade of green. There's something kind of unappetizing about it. Maybe some red would have balanced it out, but I wanted to save the red candy melts for Valentine's Day. So I added some white over it, which I think helped a little. But
No.
yeah, I won't be using that
The white
green
looks
by
like
itself
cum.
in the future. Live and learn. So at this point, you can just put these in the fridge so the chocolate can set, and once they're done, store them in a covered plastic container in the fridge. I mainly made these because my husband... I think the following year I just stopped at drizzling the chocolate on them and didn't bother with the candy melts. Loves Rice Krispie treats, and I wanted to do something a little more creative with them. At the end of the day, they're just Rice Krispie treats that are partly covered with chocolate, and you can probably imagine how they taste. Though since I thinned out the chocolate with coconut oil, you can taste some coconut in mine. But I think they look a bit more festive than without the chocolate. Anyway, if you end up making these, let me know how they turn out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I think I put all these videos out around the same time. I think I was cranking a lot of these out when it was near the end of the month and I hadn't quite reached the $100 quota on YouTube, so I was trying to make sure I got enough revenue to get paid that month. I'm supposed to be doing adult stuff, but treats. Adulting is overrated, it is. Sort of makes me think of popcorn biscuits. Yeah, Yelp, I remembered, eventually. I've never made these, but one trick I do for something similar is keep a couple of flat freeze packs out and put the sheet pan on top of that. That's a good idea. Yeah, everyone's saying Yelp. Yeah, I know, I figured it out. That was a fun episode. Maybe picture Slimer having touched your treats instead. Yeah, now I'm just covering them. I'm just calling them boogers and cum Rice Krispie treats now. It's awful. It's not even Halloween yet, but now I'm in a Christmas mood. The most I've ever done with Rice Krispie treats is adding sprinkles to it because I had sprinkles left from something else. Bannerd, you mean this thing? Okay, here come the Oreo truffles. This is going to be the hardest one to watch. I'm actually getting hungry because it's actually getting close to my dinner time because I'm going way too long with this. Hey, Deanie here. Anytime I make these Oreo truffles for people, they're always super impressed and want to know how I make them. But honestly, they only have 3 ingredients. They're a little time-consuming but extremely easy to make. They are also delicious, and I tend to make them a couple times a year. God, are they ever. New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day. Those are 2 holidays where my husband and I like to chill on the couch with finger food, like pigs in a blanket, for example, and watch a movie, so it's a perfect dessert for that. So let's get started. You will need, obviously, a package of Oreo cookies.
I'm already getting hungry. I haven't started yet.
Package. An 8-ounce package of cream cheese. Try to let it get up to room temperature. It's going to be a pain to work with.
Oreos, cream cheese, chocolate chips.
And about 16 ounces or so of chocolate chips. I like to go with these 60% dark chocolate ones by Ghirardelli.
They're so good.
I like to use good quality chocolate for this. I also like to use a food processor. Oh, you did mean. Yeah, I don't like the old one anymore myself. Trying to think if I have anything of it. No, I don't think I have any prints of it available on my store. You don't have to, but you'll see how it makes this recipe a lot quicker and easier. First, put all the Oreos in the food processor, if it's big enough. Otherwise, you can do it in batches. And then process until you basically have crumbs. If you don't have a food processor, you can put them in a Ziploc bag and bash them into crumbs with a rolling pin. Then you add the cream cheese. I cut it up into squares first so it would mix easier. Then you process it until it becomes a solid mass and it'll kind of seize up, or at least it does with my food processor. But that's fine. It's almost perfectly mixed by then. If I find any unmixed chunks of cream cheese, I'll just mix it in by hand. You'll see what I mean in a second. If you don't have a food processor, you'll have to mix it by hand, which is kind of a pain, but doable. After that, you're going to take the mixture and roll it into balls that are about a tablespoon. There we go. Look at me filming on the table and putting the camera on the other side. I finally learned. And put them on a baking tray lined with foil or parchment paper. That's also at the old apartment. This is where I'll mix in any unmixed chunks of cream cheese with my hands. Then you'll take the baking tray and stick it into the freezer for a couple hours. Then you're going to melt the chocolate in the microwave, and feel free to add oil to it if it seems a little too thick. I usually use coconut oil. Then you're just going to take those Oreo and cream cheese balls and dip each in the chocolate. I have never gotten the hang of doing this neatly like I've seen in other recipe videos, but if we're being honest, no one is going to care if they look perfect or not. Now they are totally fine like this, but I like to also melt some candy melts and drizzle it over back and forth with a fork. Make sure it's thin enough that you get those elegant little strands. I like how then these days I would be a little more picky and actually use chocolate candy melts. Oops, let me go and turn up the thermostat really quick. Sorry about that, I just realized it's after 5 p.m. Between 5 and 8, they charge us, like, way more than usual for when we run the air conditioner. They make any dessert look classy and professional. After that, just stick them in the fridge or freezer until the chocolate sets and they're done. They look pretty just kind of piled on a plate. Also, oh my god, they taste amazing. They are super chocolatey, but not overly sweet, which I kind of like despite normally having a pretty big sweet tooth. The chocolate forms almost a shell, and depending on how long they've been sitting out, the filling is soft and just coats the entire inside of your mouth as you eat it. Also, if you're a drinker, they go really well with ruby port. They do. And now I'm sad because this footage is from like 2 years ago and I don't actually have any right now and I want some. Yeah, same. So there you are. Let me know if you end up making these and I'll see you next time. I was about to do the Homer Simpson drool over here. Asgore's the best track in Undertale, followed by Undertale. It is a good one. Yeah, that Asgore is the song. I was trying to remember what tune was playing in the previous video, and I couldn't remember which one it was. Peanut butter pie Oreos. Ooh. Oh yeah, let's see, it's tea. Ooh, what is it? Let me see. It's a Tea Public. See if I can remember. /Cybercat? Oh crap, where's my stupid store? Oh wait, let me log in. Maybe that'll help. Oh, wait, storefront, there we go. Okay, this should take you to it. Yeah, the old design is definitely not on there. It's mostly like Game Den title screens, and I've got the cat from Pixel's Biggest Cats, and I've got that Life Fish for Life shirt. Where is it? I gotta go back and fix everything now. Here's the link. I think it'll let... Yeah, there we go. Okay, here we are. I get the image of Dina pulling a hammer and beating the crap out of a bag of Oreos. No remotes in sight in this one. Yeah, I was finally getting the hang of making videos by this point. Cooking videos, I mean. Bashing Oreos sounds like fun if you're in a bad mood. I like that Egyptian placemat you have in this video. Oh yeah, that's a table runner that my mom made. She's into Egyptian stuff too. Sounds very therapeutic. Rubs the cream cheese on its skin or else it gets the hammer again. Dina to Oreos. Never heard of yuzu pepper before. I guess that's the Crichton's version of the recipe. Agree with sad cat face. Yeah. That is the saddest cat in the world. I've been using that image for a while. Dina's having a Homer Simpson salivation moment, and I read your mind. That doofy cat picture. I know, it looks so good. But yeah, seriously, I've started so many fights saying any track is better than Megalovania. Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with you. Come now that you mentioned Megalovania. Hadn't listened to the soundtrack in a while. And they have a right to be wrong about that. I love how the video lag versus chat time makes it look like you're capable of time travel. Okay, here's Christmas crack. God, this stuff is so good. It's about as addictive as crack, that's for sure. I don't know if that's where the name comes from, but...
Hey, Dina here. Yes, I realize it's not Christmas time when this video is going up, but despite the title, there's nothing inherently Christmassy about this dessert.
Oh, they're so
what
good.
The hell?
Oh my god.
This one is a little more time consuming, but totally worth it, so let's get started. You will need 1 sleeve of saltine crackers, or enough to line your baking tray, 2 sticks of butter, 1 cup of packed brown sugar, and 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. First, you're going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. Then in a 9 by 13 inch pan lined with parchment paper, basically cover the bottom with the saltine crackers. Mine didn't all fit neatly, so I broke some in half to fill the gaps. And then you're going to melt the butter and brown sugar together in a saucepan. I stirred in the beginning just to help it to combine, but you should stop before it starts to boil. And then let it boil for 5 to 7 minutes. We're basically making a simple caramel. I seem to recall thinking that I overcooked it a bit when I made this batch, but it turned out fine anyway.
I think that's actually butterscotch. I think it's caramel when it's made with white sugar and butterscotch when it's made with brown sugar, but I'm not entirely sure about that. And that's literally making it. That's not the simple version. That's literally how it's made.
Then pour it onto the sheet of crackers as evenly as you can.
I didn't know as much about baking
Spread it
them
out
as I
with a
do
spoon
now.
if you need to. Just don't lick the spoon afterwards.
Yeah.
And then bake it in the oven for 5 minutes. While that's happening, melt the chocolate in the microwave.
The handle of I remember the handle was really hot. That's why I have my sleeve protecting my hand.
After you've removed the pan of crackers from the oven, pour the chocolate over it evenly, spreading and smoothing it out. And then once it cools completely, break it into shards around 2 inches or so, and that's it. These are wonderful. I assume they're called crack because they're addictive.
Good.
They definitely are crack-like in that regard, but it could also be because of the crackers or how you crack it into pieces in the end. Either way, they are really good and pretty simple to make. If you wanted to, you could probably add something on the top, like nuts or candy, but I think they're perfect just as they are. Let me know if you decide to make these, and see you next time.
Hi, patrons. Let's see what videos I'm advertising at the end of this one. Oh, now it's Hell World. And, actually, I had not made Hell World by then. I think probably I have this one being best for viewer or something like that. And it's suggesting Hell World because... Oh, and then I started advertising my playlist for cooking videos. All right. It's in Cartman's Yelp music montage, yeah. I disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say such lies. Cocaine, cinnamon toast crack. Jacob's crackers? I don't think I've heard of those. So much butter and chocolate. I know, it's so good. Dina makes the best kind of crack. Dina's crack is the best. Doing Eddie's pizza from Silent Hill 2. The time lapse of that pan made you think the curry monster's birth in DNA. It's mutating. This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and make vlogs on how to make pizza? Don't lick the spoon afterwards. Too late. Now we need a video of cooking with Pinhead. Okay, here we go. This is going to be so hard to watch. Hey, Dina here. Full disclosure, what I'm showing you today is a failed experiment, which I normally wouldn't share, but considering that the goal was to make a cake that looked like a realistic NES controller using no fondant, I think it was a pretty good try and I wanted to show the process. I will share all of the recipes involved, but this is really more about the method. The first thing I did was find some images online of an NES controller. A couple were just to look at for reference, but one was more of a diagram, and that one I took into Photoshop and blew up so I could print This one
it out.
took some effort.
Basically, I took the rectangular baking pan I planned to use and figured out the best way to trim the cake to be the dimensions of the controller. But obviously, I had to make the cake first. We were low on money at the time, and I had a box of cake mix on hand. But I still wanted the cake to be as good as it could be, so I borrowed a book from my mom called The Cake Mix Doctor, which is a collection of recipes that use cake mix as a base. I went with old-fashioned devil's food cake. So I was able to find this recipe online, so I'll link to it in the description, but you will need 1 package of devil's food cake. Mine was just regular chocolate. Again, I wanted to use what I had. 2 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder. 1 1/3 cups of buttermilk. The reason mine looks so thick is that I used that hack where you take regular milk and add a little acid and then let it sit until it thickens a little. Well, for some reason I started with heavy cream, and then once I added the acid, probably lemon juice, this was a year ago, I proceeded to let it sit for a very long time, so I ended up with what was basically sour cream. The recipe still worked out though. 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. I used olive oil. I don't keep vegetable oil on hand.
Now I do.
3 large eggs. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Only for baking.
Combine all of that and then use an electric mixer on low for 1 minute. Scrape down the sides and then mix on medium for 2 more minutes.
Oh,
then I dumped all
that
that
cake
batter into the greased pan, then smoothed it out on the top.
Oh, it looks so good.
Thick. I also used cake strips for the
I'm not kidding. I want to reach through the screen and eat that cake batter.
first time here because I didn't want the cake to
So
rise
hungry.
much, since I wanted it to be as boxy as possible. If you don't know what cake strips are and what they do, I'll link to a video about that in the description.
I have since bought some cake strips because I got so into baking.
I used the disposable kind. So I put the cake in the oven, which had been preheating at 350 degrees, and I set the timer for 35 minutes. And here's the finished product as far as the cake itself is concerned, and you can see that it's nice and flat on top, just like I wanted. I think the cake itself is the only aspect of this project that turned out perfect.
Not quite. You can see it's a little lower on one side, but whatever. It's still pretty good.
Step 2. I didn't show myself trimming and reshaping the cake to be the dimensions of the controller, but you can see that I did that. I took the pieces from the long sides and glued them to the short sides using ganache. If you don't know, ganache is literally just equal parts chocolate and cream.
Yeah, I use Undertale music for all of the cooking videos ever since I started referencing Undertale with the title.
Feel free to look up a recipe if you need one, since I didn't show myself making it. So here's the first mistake I made. Since the icing wasn't going to be chocolate, since it had to be gray, I wanted to add a little more chocolate to this cake, so I frosted it with ganache first. What I probably should have done was cut the cake into 2 layers and then put the ganache between the layers, but I think I was afraid of messing something up. I could have also used chocolate frosting as a crumb coat, which would have had a similar effect flavor-wise. But yeah, I do think I did a good job of smoothing out the ganache, but it ended up still being a little bumpy, and spreading icing over it was a pain.
Speaking of which,
You see
again,
Tara
I
in the
didn't show
background
myself
there, I
making it
think.
because this is more about the technique. I used Swiss buttercream, specifically the recipe from Gretchen's Bakery, which I'm going to have to type into the description because it doesn't exist anymore since she switched to Gretchen's Vegan Bakery and now the non-vegan recipes aren't there anymore. By the way, I forgot to mention that the cake went into the freezer after every single step.
Yep.
Once I made the cake, it went into the freezer, and then I put ganache on it, and then it went into the freezer again.
I think this cake took something like 3 days to make. It's just because it's so many steps, and I put it in the freezer between each step before frosting it.
But yeah, I tried to make the icing as smooth as possible. Not such a big deal if you're using fondant, but if you're not using fondant, it's gotta be perfectly smooth. Mm-hmm. Because what you see is what you get. There is no margin for error.
I'm wearing my Echo shirt.
So, the method I used for putting all the details on the controller is called the frozen buttercream
Interesting method.
Like I said earlier, I printed out a diagram of the controller and the size I wanted the cake, taped it to a board, and then taped wax paper on top of it. I used that as a guide for all the different blocks of color and details. I didn't film myself doing the light gray, probably because I had never done this before and wanted to focus on getting it right rather than worrying about whether or not I was filming correctly or whatever. So this part starts after I took it out of the freezer. For the red text, there was so little of it that I didn't want to use buttercream, and I already had some red candy melts for the buttons, so I went ahead and did that in red candy melt. It ended up looking a little off up close, but it looked good from a distance. I basically melted them in a Ziploc bag and then cut a tiny hole in the corner and used it as a piping bag. Then back in the freezer. Then I did the dark gray areas.
I kind of reshaped them. I didn't mention it, but you could see me doing it here. I reshaped them with what I took a Q-tip and pulled all the cotton off of one edge, so I had that little stick. I used that to kind of reshape. That's what I was doing just now.
In the same way, though I
If you're
used a big
wondering.
Ziploc bag with a piping tip so I wouldn't have a piping bag to wash later. Then back into the freezer again. Finally, there was that black background, though the icing looks more charcoal. It does get darker over time. Here's another mistake I made. Unless you're starting with dark chocolate icing, never use liquid food coloring to try to get black icing.
Yup.
I ended up using a ridiculous amount to even get the icing this dark, and who knows how many chemicals we all ingested because of that. And back in the freezer. So here's where I made that major fuck up that I know everyone noticed on the title card. I didn't film myself doing this part, but I put some more gray icing over that entire part that I'd been working on, thinking I could get the frozen buttercream to stick to the cake better that way. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that it would become
put it on the
soft
cake
after
instead,
that,
you
but-
dumbass.
Well, here, I'll turn the sound back on for this part. Sorry for the background noise, I didn't intend to use any of the audio from this footage. No! Oh my god, no!
What happened?
Oh my god, it broke.
What broke?
It's over a year later and that still hurts to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it broke in the middle when I picked it up. I pieced it back together as best I could and put it
2
back in
years
the
later, it
freezer,
still hurts to
but that
watch.
visible crack wasn't going anywhere. Okay, so, take 2 for putting the transfer on the cake. Straight from the freezer like I should have done in the first place. And that's how the frozen buttercream transfer method works. In my case, the transfer somehow ended up being a tiny bit big for the cake, so I added more frosting to the sides to make up for it. Again, making it as smooth as possible.
Cake does shrink when it cooks. Maybe
Here's
that's
something
why.
I shouldn't
But
have bothered
you'd
with.
think
I
the
tried to do
icing
that
would've made up
slightly
for that.
raised frame effect, if you know what I mean. There was no way that was going to be neat enough to look good.
Yeah, I shouldn't have bothered with that.
Honestly, from a distance like that, it doesn't look that bad, right?
Right?
So here's where I make the buttons. I ended up just using
Please tell me it
candy
doesn't
melts,
look
but
that
that was
bad.
not my first choice. I wanted them to be stiff enough to hold up, but soft enough that I could cut through them. And my first thought was that I could mix candy melts with cream and probably some food coloring and make a kind of ganache. But I could not get it to solidify even in the freezer.
Yeah, it was weird.
No matter how much candy melt to cream ratio I had, it stayed the consistency of thick syrup. So I ended up using just candy melts, which I would just have to pop off when it was time to cut the cake. Come to think of it though, people make roses out of buttercream and they hold up just fine on a cake, so
Yeah.
maybe I could have just used more buttercream for the buttons as long as I froze it first.
Yeah, most likely.
In any case, here I am putting the buttons on the cake as the finishing touch, and finally that stupid thing was done. This thing took like a week of planning and at least 2 days to make. And here's some footage Lee took of the finished product. It was actually his birthday cake last year, and here I am cutting it. Don't worry, the buttons did get eaten. They didn't go to waste. I just couldn't cut through them. And here's a picture of a piece I had at some point.
Oh, that looks so good.
It may not look perfect, but it was delicious. That box cake recipe turned out really good. You'd never guess it was made with cake mix. And Gretchen's old buttercream recipe is probably the best cake frosting I've ever had in my life. They went amazing together, along with the hidden layer of ganache. So how should I end this video? I guess I'm wondering what you all think of how it turned out, all things considered, and how you think I could have done it better. I still feel like this might be a good method to use for making a cake that looks like an NES controller without fondant, but it'd probably take some practice to get it just right. Oh, and for the record, I'm not someone who dislikes fondant. I just figured it'd be very easy to do it that way, and I wanted to
Fondant's
challenge myself.
fine, in my opinion.
Other than that, let me know if you're as crazy as me and decide to try making this or something similar. I'd love to know how it
Lee
turns
actually
out.
filmed this part.
That's it for now. See you next time.
That time I was in a head-on collision. That's right. This was the first video I made after that. Okay, let me get caught up on the chat and then wrap up here because holy shit, 2.5 hours. I should have just split this up into 2 streams. I didn't realize it was going to run this long. The last stream took like 1.5 hours. I was expecting it to be like that. Now I want to see Dina's version of Breaking Bad. making Christmas crack and selling it to pay for my whatever. There was a cooking vlog here. It's gone now. Cooking with Pyramid Head. The Nintendo cake. We all get traumatized. Especially me. Well, as I said at the time, that's how a well-used NES controller ends up looking anyway. It occurred to me just now while watching the video, kind of looks like a Nintendo controller that somebody put in a toaster oven. Ah, the cake that looks like AVGN's controller after Jekyll and Hyde. Pyramid Head cuts the cake ending. That was a fun ending of Downpour. Damn, Nat is still hanging around. The Great Knife is overkill. Balloon Fight is the best NES game. Win at Mario, then nom on the controller. Your favorite is Super Mario Bros. 3. Have I ever played an NES game called Deja Vu? I have not. Yeah, Super Mario 3 is pretty good. That's the only Mario game I've really seriously played, to be honest. Yeah, I think I commented on the hearing Undertale in the background. It's like film noir NES game. Had the original Contra on your NES, except in the UK it was called Probotector? That's an odd name. Yeah, I know you meant the track, Oblivious. George's favorite game is Super Metroid, apparently. Everyone's talking about NES games now. I'm gonna kind of skim over that a little. It was a shame, but the cake still looked good in the end. I mean, honestly, if I hadn't dropped it, I think it would have looked pretty good. It still would have looked kind of wonky, but... Kel says, yeah, I think it still looked so awesome. Thank you. Oblivious says, I'd eat that cake. Yeah, it tasted good. Ashtray says, totally looks good. Now try the Sega Saturn analog controller. I don't think so. The reason I picked NES is because it's, you know, rectangular shaped and pretty close to the shape of a cake anyway, so I didn't have to do that much trimming or shaping or anything. Wouldn't so much eat the cake as just face plant into it like Rimmer and mashed potatoes. Now you're eating with power. Happy belated birthday to Lee. It looks like a well-worn NES controller. Yeah, well-worn. I know this was a few years ago, but belated happy birthday to Lee. Even with the little mishap, that cake looks great. I admire people who are creative with baking. Thank you.
The N64 would be the ultimate challenge. Oh god, yeah. Time well spent. Seems like a nightmare. Yeah, it was. Cancer treatment. Yeah, I was trying to think of the term for cancer treatment, and I still can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I feel so dumb. Chemotherapy. Yeah, chemotherapy is what I was trying to say. Yeah, an N64 control is the final boss of baking. You watched my cooking videos before you ever saw any Undertale footage, so when you finally watched my Let's Play and heard the background music, I thought, why am I craving frittata right now? That's awesome. Yeah, they changed the soldiers into robots for the European version as they felt it was too violent. Oh, yeah, I think I've heard something about that. They called it Probotector because more robots and to not reference the Iran-Contra thing. Oh, right. I didn't make that connection. Okay, I'm going to quickly wrap up this time. Yes, chemotherapy. You're behind me. I'm going to quickly wrap up. I should have had dinner half an hour ago and I have to go to the bathroom. So thanks for watching, everybody. This was really fun. Wednesday, I'm not totally sure if I'm going to stream on Wednesday because I have an appointment, but it should be done before I need to stream. So I should be streaming Wednesday. I'm probably going to go back to Twitch then. I think it might be safe to go back to Twitch as long as I'm careful. I hope Twitch is going to fix their issues with the hate raiders. Not raiders. Hate raiders? No, I guess that is the right thing. Hate raiders. I hope Twitch fixes that. I think they're sounding like they're working on it. I hope they do. They're finally losing money because of it, so maybe now they'll do something. But yeah, I should be okay on Twitch as long as I'm careful. And so I'll probably be back on Twitch on Wednesday. I talked to Lee about it, and that was what the conclusion we came to. So yeah, I'll be back on Twitch on Wednesday. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to stream. Maybe I'll go back to Atari 2600 games for a bit, or maybe I'll think of something better. Feel free to make suggestions if you want, I guess. I think that's all I have to say. Okay, there's been a little more in the chat. Let me get caught up one more time and then I'll end. Glad to join and see great food. Thank you. 1 hour video ended up being 2.5, a win. Good night, Neo. Bye, Kel. No problem, Moonbeam. Fun times. Very yummy stream. No problem, Ashtray. Good night, Special Iron. What happened with Twitch? The hate raiders. I don't feel like explaining it because I'm trying to wrap up right now. Yeah, if you want to hurt a company, hurt them in their wallet. Okay, what do I need to do? Click the end stream button, that's what. Quick, everyone, the more you type, the more Tina streams. All right, thanks for joining me, everybody. It was fun. See you Wednesday, hopefully. If not, definitely Friday. That's it for now. See you next time. Tara just went, meh. Bye.